Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Hardwood Nation podcast with your boy, CL Anthony, and my main man, Bryce Ward. Bryce, what is going on?
Same as always, not much. Glad to see you caught yourself in the middle of that intro and you finished it flawlessly.
You was not supposed to mention that, sir. Fuck you, okay?
Felt like the pause was like 5-10 seconds.
I don't want to curse that early. Usually I give it like the 2 minutes before I start cursing, but respectfully, fuck you. All right, so couple things. I want to get a couple things out of the way. Our last couple of videos, they're good, considering it's the off season. So that was a good thing. We appreciate all our viewers. We actually picked up another subscriber, so thank you for that. Please like, subscribe, and share our content. Drop comments below. Tell us that you love us. Tell us that you hate us. We appreciate all, and we respond to all. So we got some shit to get into, as always. A couple of days ago, Giannis said that, and I'm paraphrasing, I'm going to read the exact quote later, but he was speaking to the New York Times and pretty much said that if him and Milwaukee aren't on the same page, he's not going to sign an extension. I want to go back in time just a little bit because the last time Giannis was able to walk, he might have flirted with a team on South Beach, who had just beat him in the playoffs, But Giannis re-signed, went through that team, and won the championship. My question for you is, coming off that championship, re-signing all their guys back, yeah, they fired Coach Bud, which they needed to because he was trash. Do you think Milwaukee should be scared this time?
Yeah. But I think that's a good thing, right? I mean, I'm not a Milwaukee fan, but if I was, I like this if I'm a Milwaukee fan because I like Giannis being upfront about it, and also if you have a talent like Giannis, you should be doing everything every year that you can sorry, to maximize your championship capabilities, I guess you could say. Mm-hmm. It's very rare for any of these stars to stay with their team their entire career. So I think it's almost unlikely nowadays to think that you'll have them forever. I mean, you don't want to think about losing your star player, but every team, except for like maybe two, really seems to go through at least a year or two of rebuilding. Maybe not always through the draft, of course, like some teams do, but like, for example, the Heat usually have 3 to 4 years of a good run. You might have like one, maybe even 2 bad years sometimes in terms of Heat standards of what a season can be. It's like not everybody can keep it going all the time. So if I'm a Milwaukee fan, I kind of like that at least up front on paper, it seems like I kind of have a clear message and maybe even a time frame of how to expect these things. And in these situations, I think that's all you can ask for. I don't think it's outrageous for Giannis to make these claims and to get it out in the open. I think he's just being transparent. And if I'm a Milwaukee fan, I kind of appreciate it, and I like that I have a general time frame to expect the team to try to do things in, because nobody wants to lose that caliber of player. So they should be on the clock. They should have already been on the clock in terms of like how they see each year with Giannis, because it's so easy to lose stars in this league. So I like the move. Even if he leaves, like I said, I'm not a Milwaukee fan. If he leaves and goes to another team, I like the chaos that can create. So I think he handled it honestly about as well as you can handle that kind of situation. What do you think?
Couple things, just in response to you. one, we'll go over the time frame, and then two, we do love shit shows. So yeah. um, this is what I think. So he's not going to be a free agent this offseason. He's not going to be a free agent. He's just eligible to sign his extension this offseason. So he actually has 2 more years to go, beginning with this season before he can walk. So I do believe it's smart of him to give them this time frame. Y'all got 2 years to kind of get it together. Technically speaking, you actually have 1 year. And the reason why I say that is I think he may want them to make a move around the All-Star break. Because they have the same team. Like they literally they brought back everybody. So it's like, okay, you're getting older. For whatever reason, you got blasted in the playoffs last year. For whatever reason, blame it on Bud, blame it on the knees, whatever, you got blasted. So it's not that I don't like it, but this is going to lead into my next question to you. Do you remember his press conference after the Heat series when he talked about, oh God, I forgot how he said it, but everyone thought it was so transformative what he said about wins and losses and how it really doesn't matter and yada, 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 yada. So this seems to show me that it's a kind of a 180 from that profound statement, because I never agreed with that statement after you got beat, take the L, right? I never agreed with that. But now it looks like it's a little fire in him right now. So do you think we're going to have like a super motivated Giannis, considering after they won that championship, that entire team, including him, did kind of pull back a little bit and had a little fat cat going on for over a year? Do you think this is him trying to light a fire in himself to be like, look, we really have to take it serious now. We just can't step on the court and beat people?
I think so. Also, with his attitude, we've seen that's kind of been a thing in the past for him. From reading the newspaper, taking pictures of him reading the newspaper from one instance to the next. But you remember, right? I know you do. So he definitely used that loss as motivation, and they came back the next year, won a championship, right? So I definitely think that kind of thinking is in him. And yes, and at the time, he said what was the right thing to say for the media in that situation. I got no problem with what he said. Whether or not you believe it or not, these guys, especially some of them, I don't think they're always trying to be so confrontational. They just go up there and they say, I guess, the quote-unquote politically correct answer, right? Mm-hmm. This is sounds a little more truthful in terms of it just makes a lot more sense what he's saying. So, but yes, I think there's many stars in this league that I think once you win a championship, it's easy to relax, and then that next year teaches you, oh no, I can't relax the way I thought I could. And so I would be a little worried if they can add anything different. Honestly, just the team being locked in and Giannis' attitude alone can do wonders for that team. We've seen it. But there hasn't been a lot of changes on that team outside of like a few important role players. And we've seen them go from getting destroyed by the Heat in the first round to destroying the Heat in the first round, basically. I can't remember if when they beat the Heat was in the first round. I believe it was. But anyways, I'm saying without a major big difference, we've seen them change, I guess, the way they come across on the court, especially when it comes to intensity and attitude. So I definitely believe it can make a difference, but the league is just so competitive right now. It might not be enough. So yeah, it's like you said. It seems like maybe if Giannis is wanting them to make a move, when did you say, before the trade deadline?
Yeah.
I could see that being very important to this team. And then also you got a new coach coming in. The beginning of the season, the first half of the season will be a little more up in the air than usual for them. But I mean, they're so good. I think they can figure it out. And if Giannis and that team is locked in mentally, I think they will be more of a threat than they were last year. And not saying they're going to win a championship, but I believe they could be more of a threat than they were last year. If Giannis is locked in with that kind of attitude and the team follows.
I'll go on record and say we both agreed last year that for the majority of the season, the Milwaukee Bucks looked like the best team in the NBA, them in Denver. We knew one of the two would kind of be in the finals at the end. We just kind of didn't know which one. You know, I'm speaking of before the playoffs. For the record, I'm going to stroke my ego just a little bit. Miami has no fear of Milwaukee. I've said that for 4 or 5 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that series, if Milwaukee would have been matched up against anyone else, I still believe we would have saw Milwaukee in the finals versus Denver this past year. Okay, take Miami completely out of the equation because we're the only team that can shit on Milwaukee. That's just a fact at this point. Okay, so next season, it's still early, too early to do these, our too early predictions that always go wrong. I don't think the Bucks are going to fall off too much from their regular season performance last year going into this season. I don't think they're going to fall off too much. They were the number 1 seed for the majority of last season. I think this is going to be this year, not next year, but I think this year coming up is going to be their last best shot. So I think that's why Giannis is saying those things. I do think I was shocked. I was really shocked when they brought everyone back because they are old. They are. They are old. And Brook Lopez can't keep doing what Brook Lopez has been doing. He cannot keep doing this. Like, he can't. He's getting older. Jrue Holiday has already said he's already halfway out the door. He's like, look, I might retire in 2 years. So, once you start talking about it, you're halfway out the door. And Middleton has had the knee injuries the last couple of years now. He's missed some significant time. So if they can pull it together for one more year, it is going to be this season. If they don't, and if he doesn't sign that extension, all of next season, not the upcoming season, but all of next season will be, where is Giannis going? There's 2 teams that's already popped up. Not the Heat, but there's two teams that's already popped up.
The Heat pop up for everything, so we literally don't even have to mention them. We can talk about the other teams and be like, the Heat are there, we know somewhere.
No, because it's going to be coming to Miami, so that's going to kill the Giannis sweepstakes unless we get rid of Bam and Jimmy, which we're not going to do. Okay, but I love you, Dave.
That's fine. You can't have everybody. You got to pick one.
Right.
I like it.
Right. But the 2 teams that are coming up are, of course, outside of Miami, of course, the New York Knicks and the Los Angeles Lakers, which is really surprising. The Los Angeles Lakers are really surprising.
I think they go after any star, any kind of star, even if they don't think they'll fit. I'm not even saying Giannis wouldn't fit there. I'm just saying that they go after anybody. I fully believe that.
New York makes sense. New York makes sense a couple of times. I mean, in a couple of areas, New York makes sense. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the Lakers, man. Just like a few years ago when LeBron James was eyeing LA, I'm like, this is a good move.
Is Golden State a dark horse? Because we know they've snatched a few. I mean, getting the Kevin Durant deal that one year, I think kind of it surprised me, so I don't ever count them out anymore.
From a playing style standpoint, to me, from a playing style standpoint, Giannis is not a good fit with the Golden State Warriors because he's going to slow down and bog down that offense. As of yet, he's still not as an efficient shooter as Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant fit perfectly in that system. Love him or hate him, because you're right with what you say. He was the greatest role player in the history of the NBA. You're absolutely right with that. But his playing style fit perfectly with the Warriors. I don't believe Giannis's playing style will fit as perfect with them. And we're also going to see a little bit of that this year with Chris Paul being there. People forget Chris Paul's in Golden State. People forget about that.
It's going to be interesting.
It's going to be some changes there. They're going to slow it down a little bit. If he's in a starting lineup, they're going to be a little slower this year. I will they have cash flow? Yes. Is he a perfect fit for that team? No. I do like him in Los Angeles though. With LeBron, without LeBron, Giannis can play for that team. That team likes playing slow and they like playing big. Now, Anthony Davis is a dark horse because they're probably going to have to move Davis in order to bring Giannis in. Fine. One is street clothes. One is generally not injured outside of the last 2 years. Fine. You make that move 100% of the time. So, in what could be one of the 2 last years of LeBron James's career, to see him share that ball with Giannis, that might be something beautiful. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So between the Knicks and the Lakers, Golden State is a dark horse. They're out there, but I don't put too much credence on that. I think the Lakers would be the move for him. What do you think?
I actually like not for a fan perspective, of course, but the Knicks move sounds way more interesting to me because the Lakers always tend to get their guy, I guess, or get a guy, and the Knicks are always in way more chaos. And so I kind of like that idea a little bit more, even though it would keep Giannis in the East, which is a problem for me. I think that's more interesting, honestly. A really good Knicks team brings a lot of attention to the East, and I haven't really seen it happen too many times since I've been interested in basketball. So to me, that's the most interesting on paper move is the Knicks, is because I haven't seen them get that kind of quality player in quite a minute. You can talk about Randall being great and everything, but he's not like one of the top players in the league. You know what I mean? So I'd like to see the Knicks land him, honestly.
And they would have to. Randall would either have to come off the books or it would be a sign and trade for them to make it work, money wise.
Let me ask you something: is Boston in play for some star in the next year or two? If this year doesn't work out the right way, do they come off their little experiment?
They're capped out. So
yeah, but do they trade Brown though?
Well, here's the thing. So he just signed the extension. I forgot how much it is. Forgive me. They could move him in December. They could start moving him. But would I move him? No. I don't think they're ready to give up on that tandem just yet. But in the summer, they may revisit it. But at the same time, I don't think Giannis wants to deal with that Boston market. I don't even think you have to be a special player to have to deal with that. The only reason Jason Tatum gets away with it is because he's the golden boy, so they don't put pressure on him. But you see who they put pressure on, which is Jaylen Brown, okay? And you see who wants to get out of there. Now, he got the bag, don't get me wrong. You always secure the bag, and then you plan your next step. So just because he signed this extension doesn't mean he's going to be there for the duration of that extension. Because Jason Tatum is clearly, for not on a skill level, but from a media standpoint, is clearly the guy there. I don't. This is what I'm going to say. However, this tandem ends in Boston, Boston's going to be bad for a long time. I'm just going to say that. They're going to be bad. They're going to find out that Jason Tatum is a false prophet, especially if they do move Jaylen Brown. Look, Porzingis was brought in, and now he's hurt, so he's going to miss the start of the season. He might be back around December, but he's going to miss the start of the season. Similarly to Milwaukee, this is going to be probably the last year that we see Boston be really great. And also, let's not forget, they just moved the heart and soul of that team, Marcus Brown.
Smart.
No, Marcus Smart. Forgive me. Lord have mercy. Marcus Smart.
That's what made me
So,
ask the question to begin with. It seems like they've always leaned more towards Tatum.
mhm,
If this experiment doesn't work, you have the highest paid currently player in the league on your team and it's not working, and then your other little experiment has injury issues. So it's like, how long, especially if they take a step back this season. Not saying they will. I'm just saying, if things don't go really, really well, like they have to really look at what they have on their team. And I just don't see it. I guess I don't see it lasting. So I'm kind of trying to see what they do to get ahead of it. So you're
right,
just saying that they'll probably just be bad for a while because
mhm,
they're kind of gonna like ride this till it doesn't work.
right, right.
Oh, okay.
Um, so there is another topic that we want to talk about. Forgive me, but I do want to read Giannis' exact statement because, in a sense, the last sentence is just so strong. And usually, and this is not a shot, but usually Giannis is just happy-go-lucky most of the time. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He and this is not a shot. He doesn't take the game super serious because he's a foreign guy, so he didn't come up through the AAU ranks like some of these other guys did. Giannis
Mm.
is he's just a happy-go-lucky person. God bless him. But the end of this statement, if I'm Milwaukee, I shit my pants. And they kind of did a little bit, but this is what he said. This is the exact statement. Next summer, it would make more sense for both parties. Even then, I don't know. I would not be the best version of myself if I don't know that everybody's on the same page, that everyone's going for a championship. Everybody's going to sacrifice time away from their families like I do. And if I don't feel that, I'm not signing. It is rare in the NBA where we've just blatantly heard a player say, if I don't get my way, I'm not signing. Like we haven't heard that. Usually there's this gray area that people dance in. You get what I'm saying? But to just say, if I don't feel that, I'm not signing, low key, that's a very strong statement to Milwaukee. Like, y'all better get y'all shit together.
But at least if I'm Milwaukee, I love that because he's setting the tone, he's setting the expectations, and he's setting a time frame. Lots of times when these things happen, you're not given, at least on the surface, behind the scenes could be 100% different. I get that, but it very much seems like they're not given these like direct talking points about it or
Right.
the direct details about it. They're just like, well, Dame, is he getting unhappy? Well, he's been unhappy. He's been there for like 100 years and they haven't won anything. So it's like, but it hasn't been laid out like this. James Harden never lays anything out like this. Kevin Durant never lays anything out like this. Kyrie, nobody ever. Maybe LeBron. Maybe LeBron has made it clear at certain times, like kind of what he's expecting, but I don't even think not like this.
Not like
So
this.
if anything, it's kind of brilliant. Giannis has got ahead. The fan base will hate him to an extent, but this is about the best way a star could plan on leaving a team, whether or not he's going to leave or not. The expectations are out there, and he's been honest and clear for 2 years now. Like by the time this would happen, you could say it's a year or two out based on how the team does things and his contract extensions and things like that. So it's just I like it. I mean, it takes away all the kind of fog and mirrors or shadows and mirrors situation where you're not wondering all the time for a whole season because it wasn't that long ago that we would hear about these rumors and then we would have to go the whole season
Right.
waiting on these guys. I mean, it happened. LeBron, Carmelo, Dwight Howard. I remember those years where they didn't just force a trade, and you're sitting there all season. That's the only question they get. That's the only thing the media focuses on, no matter how many games they win. That's the question they get every single night. John's going to have to deal with some of this, but this might be one of the best ways I've seen a star, at least set up expectations to where if he leaves, everyone's not looking around like flabbergasted. It's just like, okay, he warned us of this, and the team's not playing well. You can see the chemistry on the team maybe not being great or something. Like the writing will kind of be on the wall, but at least you're not wondering what Giannis is thinking. He's already laid that out way in advance. If
Yeah.
I'm Milwaukee or if I'm their fan base, I actually really appreciate this.
It's wild because you're right. Like we've never really. They would say it behind the scenes, but they wouldn't say it to the public like this. Even Dame, it took him months just to come out. Like Dame just said last week, yeah, there was a trade request. He just came out and said it, but it took him months to say that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is a strong statement from an unlikely source. Like I didn't think Giannis had this in him. I just didn't. This was all respect to Denver. They won an NBA championship. They were solid all year. But Milwaukee, for the duration of the season, was the number 1 overall seed in NBA last season. Okay. This they were the number 1 seed. Like I said, outside of Miami, Milwaukee probably would have been in the finals last year. I love the Milwaukee Bucks. I watch a lot of the Milwaukee Bucks. They were solid. Just Miami happens to be their kryptonite, and that's fine. But this, coming off a year where you were the number 1 seed, yes, you lost in the first round. I get it. But this shows that Giannis has a set.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. I respect that. It's like, okay, like, it's so shocking because, like, if they were like, let's say they were the 6th or 7th seed and lost in the first round, and he would have said this, I would have completely expected it. They were the overall number 1 seed last year. It's like Brooke
But
Lopez.
even if internally they know that he is a problem, right? Externally, you're the number 1 seed all season. You have an MVP candidate. You've won the championship. You can't get bounced like that.
Yeah.
You can't. I like that he came out and said this. You're right. If it's like they're 6th and 7th seed and they get knocked out and the expectations weren't high or whatever, like I get it. And I think also Giannis probably gets rubbed the wrong way by losing to the Heat. I know it would to me after we've had the history with the Heat that they've had, kind of thing. 1 postseason, it's the Heat. The 2nd postseason, it's you guys, and you go on and you win a championship, kind of thing. I get it because if you don't,
2 out of 3 times.
Yes, if you don't walk in with that mentality, then being number 1 seed is not enough. That doesn't get you anything. Mm-hmm. They saw last year they could almost be mediocre and still be one of the top teams in the East. Mediocre for them,
and that's
mediocre
dangerous.
for them.
Yeah, that's dangerous.
But not to win the championship. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's the difference. And I think Giannis definitely sees that difference, and he wants championship, and he wants his team to reflect that same attitude. And of course, if you're one of the best players in the world and you want to win a championship, that's what you want out of your team and your administration from top to bottom. So it makes sense to me. It's just like you said, you have a great season, you just don't win a championship, you get knocked out of the playoffs early, and it's really lit a spark under him.
Yeah, I mean, if it was any, and don't get me wrong, this is not a Heat podcast. If it was any other team, I think Milwaukee would have got through that first round series. I really do. But it's just something with Miami where they just freeze from Coach Bud on down. And that's why Coach Bud had to be the fall guy. It's just they just don't have it against Miami. They don't have it. All right. So our last topic.
Real quick, how important is Giannis's attitude and a new coach? How important is that for this team?
I don't know. And Adrian Griffin has been in the league a long time, was a decent role player. He's been in the coaching ranks for a very long time. But and as always, he's respected by his players. He's a player's coach. But this is his first time being a head coach, so we don't know. Now, being a first-time head coach, would you want to have a team like the Bucks? You do. You really do. Because Jrue, I love you. Jrue Holiday And the veterans on that team can be self-containing. They necessarily don't need a coach, to be honest with you, because they've been through the wars, they've been through the battles, they've won a championship. So we have to see what Adrian Griffin can bring to the table. I will say this: Coach Bud's performance in the playoffs last year was so horrible that there's only one way to go, which is up. It's just that's just the point of it. Eric Spoelstra shitted on Bud for 5 games. Absolutely shitted on Bud for 5 games. So Bud didn't need to go. Was Bud distracted? Yes. He had a death in the family during that series. I get it. He was distracted. But he totally got shitted on by Spoelstra and got out coached. So our last topic, I kind of mentioned this to you during the middle of the week, but we're just going to talk about it a little bit, and then we're going to wrap it up for today. So the NBA did an investigation into referee Eric Lewis because he was sending out some tweets defending himself and other referees from a burner account. We know, it's been well documented, that there's been referee shenanigans in the NBA. So right before the NBA concluded their investigation into Lewis retired. So, me, you, and me and the other team members were texting on that day when the news came out. This is a forced retirement. They forced him out. They didn't want any blood on their hands. Do you think the NBA did the right thing by allowing Lewis to resign? So two-stage question. And how big do you think this referee issue is in the
NBA? I mean, I don't get what they might be trying to, the league, it might be trying to save face in terms of how they want to deal with the other referees. And so the idea of letting the guy retire instead of publicly firing him, I see a lot of companies doing that, and I think it's for both parties to save face in a way. And I'm not necessarily saying it's a good thing because, these referees, I think it's pretty shameful what we think they're guilty of. And so I don't see the point in letting them save face, but I see a lot of pretty big companies handle, I guess, executives and other high-end employees this way. Like I hear about it a lot in like Hollywood, like certain producers or executives, they'll retire or mutually resign kind of thing instead of being fired, but the company, technically wanted them fired. And so I don't know, it's just some weird saving face kind of thing, or it's less embarrassing. I'm not sure why they did it here kind of thing, but either way, we definitely know this ref was basically fired. The second answer, I feel like, I don't know how many referees, like the exact number, are employed by the league every year.
Off the top of my head, I don't know the answer to that.
Like, are we talking like 100? Or are we talking like 50? Like, just ballpark. Like, what kind of number is it?
I would say it's more between 1 to 100 than 50 to 100.
Okay. It, based on like the way I see crowds react on like social media and the limited games I see, because I do watch a lot of basketball, but I'm limited to, I watch a lot of Magic basketball games. And so I don't always catch everybody else's home games, of course, and I don't see how refs react in all these situations. I just more or less go off, like I said, what I see the crowds saying. And it definitely feels like there might be like a 10 to 15% type of number in terms of how many refs seem to be really scrutinized. And it's not so high as like, 30 to 50%. I don't believe that. But I could definitely see like out of like say maybe 100, maybe there's like 10 reps you really got to keep an eye on, and then there's a few that everybody just knew. Like fuck this guy, every game it's leaning this way. Um, I, yeah, so I don't think they're all that blatant, obviously, but I definitely think like where there's smoke, there's fire, and so I would say I feel comfortable saying like maybe a 10% range or a little less is what we think, or at least what I think is out there in terms of corrupt referees, I guess you could call them.
Due to the magic of the internet, I just pulled up the number, so I was wrong, and I don't mind being wrong. As of last season, there were 74 refs in the NBA. So I'm not sure if that's the official count every year, but last season we had 74 refs. I would have never guessed that. That is wild.
What percentage of them do you think are fucked?
All of them. I don't think I'm not a huge conspiracy theory guy. I'm not. But I've seen so many things in the NBA where the refs can determine the outcome of a game by virtue of the league office. I'm just going to say it, so fuck the league. It's gross. Now, we didn't see it that much in the playoffs last year. We didn't see it. But if you watch enough games in the regular season, you see things. And it's always coming from the league office. It's always and it's not even based on winning losses all the time. It's based on protecting certain players, protecting certain coaches, and also protecting certain teams from the standpoint of we want this team to look good, whether if they win or lose, we want the team to look good, give them a shot, keep them in the game. And then in the fourth quarter, whatever happens, happens. So we've seen things like this in the NBA since I've been watching the NBA since 1993. We've seen this. So I think there's not, and trust me, I don't know these guys personally, but there's not a referee that I trust in the league, period. This is not.
I will say I was kind of thinking about it differently than you are, because I was thinking in terms of what I guess referees might be going rogue and trying to manipulate the system for their own gain, not necessarily because I am with you on the league kind of pushing narratives. In terms of I think all the referees get I guess direction in some way from the league. I do believe that. I was more or less like, how many of these guys are taking it kind of too far, like in terms of maybe betting or other things, influencing that kind of thing, like packing their own pocket.
I think that has slowed down a little bit, and I think that's that's one reason why the league came out so hard on Tim Donaghy all those years ago. Not necessarily because he was a crooked ref, but the league wanted to protect its own ass because it knows that it has sent that the refs wear. I don't know if you've ever noticed this. The refs wear headphones and microphones. Why? Who are they talking to?
Each other. Talk about the play they just called.
Because when they're talking to each other, they huddle up. They huddled up generally center court in front of the scores table, and then they make their decisions on what they're going to do. So who are you talking to? You see what I'm saying? So, yeah, you talk to the basketball guys, right? So I get it. You know, they could be talking. They do have this fake ass referee center in Secaucus, New York, whatever. You know that reviews instant replays and stuff like that. So that's who the NBA would say they're talking to. There's no reason for a ref to have a headset and microphone on in any professional sport, because you should be tuned in 100% to what's going on in front of you on the court, not necessarily talking to someone who's giving you directions on what to do. But I'm happy that they ended Eric Lewis for tweeting and defending himself. He was a horrible referee. The games I saw, he was absolutely horrible. And the most damning thing about this, and this is the last thing I'll say, the most damning thing about this is that the referees have a union too. And they've been quiet. They didn't even defend this dude. They're just like, all right, you're going to resign? All right, bye. Like, no one has spoken up for this dude. So that's the most damning thing. They wanted him gone. They're in a week from, look, one, this story wasn't even pushed. You just had to know if you knew. Two, the story is going to be wiped out in like a week. Look, it might be already wiped out now. You know what I'm saying?
What do you think the answer to this is long term? Because it keeps poking its head, every so often. Enough people get fed up, and like we're given like basically a sacrificial lamb, and then they keep on going about their business. But long term, do you think this becomes a bigger issue for them? Again,
they, for whatever reason, and this is the only time I ever say this. God bless David Stern for saving the league after the Tim Donaghy stuff. I don't know how he did it, but God bless him, because that was the biggest bullet that the NBA's ever got hit with. It was the biggest bullet. This is so wild. Outside of shutting the league down and starting brand new, there's no way this is going to stop. There's no way. And they're not going to do that. There's no way they're going to do that. So that's not even a idea of anything that could happen. So it's just so deep. The league dictates who they want to win. And they will protect their star players. And from a business standpoint, I kind of get it. But you have to let it happen naturally and organically as well. So I always go back to Boston. I always go back to Jason Tatum. He's a good kid. The NBA marked him as being next in line. The NBA did everything in its power to make sure that Boston would win a championship under Jason Tatum. And Jason Tatum froze under that pressure when they were in the finals against Golden State. Every time there's a big playoff series or a big game, he fails under the pressure that the league is putting on him, because he knows that they want him to be the next guy. You can see it all the time. You can just see it. He freezes. And it's not fair to that kid. It's absolutely not fair. So, with that said, please like, subscribe, and share our content. Drop comments below. Hey, do you think the league is rigged? Do you think Jason Tatum is the second coming of Kobe? That's so dead. Let us know below. We love all you guys, and everyone stay safe.
always.